Welcome to the first official, fully filmed podcast / YouTube. I hate this. I hate looking at a camera and talking to it. I like talking to my microphone because it feels like no one's here. So if you see me looking at my microphone, it's because I'm in the flow. Okay? I'm doing this in honor of my 2 years of sobriety. And we're going to go along through the ride, the ups, the downs, and the imperfect journey that it is, so that you can decide if it's your time or just live vicariously through me. Welcome to the Straight Up Intentional Podcast. This is your host, Diane, and on this podcast, we're going to talk everything faith, fitness, and mindset, and how to live an intentional life. The decision to get sober was not from day to day. It was not something that was done lightly. It was not something that I just woke up one day and was like, I'm going to get sober. Absolutely not. My sober journey starts 2 years ago on Halloween. I had spent months working on myself. These are the same months where I was postpartum, where I was reading the book Atomic Habits, where I was working on myself. I was going through the motions of building better habits, not just going on this like weight loss journey like I always did, but really going through like the whole mind, body, and soul experience. Around the same time I was saved, I had conviction about alcohol. Which just essentially means, for those who don't understand, just literal guilt and shame around it. I started to be more cognitive of the times I did feel guilty and shame and why. And I think that the biggest thing for me was having my son. I instantly remembered being the very young mom I was with my daughter. It was an entirely different experience. I had my daughter at 20 years old. I was pregnant by 19. I was alone in the sense that I was not, with her dad, and we were not parenting together. I did have a load of help from my family. My family was amazing. I had a lot of great friends at the time, but I was resentful at the time. I definitely drank way too much. And I was overworked and stressed and all of the things that you can think of. And when I had my son, I went through all these memories of like my daughter being a baby. And like, I remember when she did this and I remember when she did that. But so many of those memories came with other kind of memories, like shameful memories, like guilt memories. And when my son was, a couple months old, I remember having a drink and not wanting to drink. I was breastfeeding, number one. So you have to like work your way around that. You have to dump all the milk that has alcohol in it. And then I was also getting severely hungover, like hangovers like no other. Like I legitimately think that was God being like, yo, you're done. I was getting hungover to the point where like I couldn't get up out of bed. I was nauseous. I was exhausted. I just felt like this, like almost like a flu. And I was like, okay, I'm hitting 30. You can tell. Number one. Number two, I hate this feeling. I don't like that I am out for the count and can't be the energetic mom that my kids need me to be. And I just don't feel good. And little by little, it really wasn't this huge philosophical question about whether or not I should drink. It was really, I was like not liking the hangovers. I was forgetting what would happen at night. And mind you, I'm already at this point married with 2 children. And I have to ask my husband how we got home last night. And it wasn't because I was overly drinking. I was drinking a lot more before I had my son. It was barely drinking and getting to the point of like not being able to remember how we got home, or forgetting certain parts of the night, waking up and wondering if I did something, to offend anybody. And, in my days, 100%, there have been plenty of times that I woke up and people had to tell me what I was doing or how I was acting and all those things. And I was super embarrassed by that. So I was just more aware, I think, this time because I was going through all of these mindset changes and habit changes. And it was kind of like a very natural progression for me because of everything that I was doing in my life, because of all of the changes I was making in my life, because of all the books I was reading and all of the cognitive changes I was making. I decided, okay, I don't think I want to drink anymore. I didn't say I was never going to drink again. And to this day, I do not say that, although I really don't see it happening. I'm not going to promise anyone that I'm never drinking again, right? More so that I'm not drinking today. And I think that that's such an important thing to remember is like people think like, oh my gosh, I'm never drinking again. And they're thinking about when they're like 82 and if they're going to drink at their granddaughter's wedding. And I'm like, let that come when it comes and like get through today. And then we'll talk about tomorrow when tomorrow comes, like that's as simple as it can be. But we make it so complicated because we're scared of the unknown. What if I am awkward? What if I can't have fun? What if people don't invite me? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if people are mad at me for not drinking, especially the people that I used to drink with? These are all things that go through your head when you're deciding that you don't want to drink anymore. So when I decided, okay, I'm going to go without drinking, I never really gave myself a date. I never really gave myself even like a goal. I was literally like, I just don't want to drink anymore. And I drank probably 2 times after that decision was made. I planned it to be on my birthday. So, of course, for my birthday, I had like a brunch or something. So I drank that day. And that day that I was drinking, I didn't want to drink. And it was so crazy because there's been so many times in my life where I didn't want to drink and I drank anyway. But I wasn't aware, or I wasn't allowing myself that much awareness to say, I don't actually want to drink. I'm just drinking because they want me to drink. And that day, I was aware of what I was doing. I was drinking because it was my birthday and people made a celebration for me, but I didn't want to drink. And even just calling myself out on that, even just recognizing that and like thinking about that and like knowing that I realized that was tremendous to me. It was a tremendous leap for me to understand that I didn't want to drink. What was the purpose of drinking? If I drink and I don't get drunk, what was the point? If I drink and I get drunk and I don't remember, what was the point? If I drink and I don't remember and I wake up and I'm sick, what was the point? Did I even enjoy my birthday? Did I even enjoy these precious days and memories of my life? Or did I let it all drown away? And it took a lot, but I finally was like, yes, okay, when I turn 30, I'm done. Literally, don't know why. So at this point, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I literally think like I just don't want to drink anymore. Just not aligning with me right now in my life. And I didn't think it was going to be such a big emotional roller coaster. I didn't realize that I was going to process feelings that I hadn't processed in my entire life. I didn't realize the immense amount of emotions that I was going to feel because of all of the suppressed emotions that were going to come back rushing to me, and I wouldn't have anything to drown them out. I didn't realize it until I actually got sober. And let me tell you, you may see me now 2 years sober and I may seem very, very happy, and I am, truly. But those first few months of sobriety were freaking tough. They were the most emotional times of my life. Like I said, I had backed up emotions that I never processed, that I never took the time to actually deal with. And so I ended up remembering all of these memories that I had pushed into the closet of forgetness of move it on. Like, literally I lifted the rug. You know how people push things under the rug? Well, I lifted the rug and there were layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of not only anger, resentment, but pain and guilt and shame of things that I had done when I was drunk, of things that were done to me because I put myself in the situation of being drunk. Things that I forgave that shouldn't have been forgiven, or that shouldn't have been let go, that should have been addressed. My pain that should have been addressed, and the pain that I did onto other people that should have been addressed, but was pushed under the rug. All the times I put myself in dangerous situations. All the times that I put myself in situations that I didn't want to be in. All the times I drank because somebody else wanted me to drink. All of the people that I was trying to please or be like or make known that I was worthy of their attention. All of this, years and years and years of repression thrown in my face. Thrown in my face, right in front of me, and just deal with it now, Diane. You've been running from it, deal with it. And it was rough. I'd cry a lot. I was very emotional. I didn't know what to do with my feelings. And because I started drinking, 17, 18, when you're supposed to learn how to manage your emotions, I never learned how to manage my emotions. So I would use an outside substance when I was sad, mad, angry, anxious, uncomfortable. I learned that I'm actually a very introverted person and that social gatherings I can do, but I need a break from. I don't want to be out every day. I like being home. I love being alone and processing. I love writing. I love reading. I love going outside by myself. I love having peace and quiet. I don't agree with all of my friends. I don't even like doing the things that they like to do. I might not even agree with them at all. I might have been thinking I was this one person because I wasn't actually trying to figure out who I was. And getting sober helped me open my eyes to that and so many other things. And in the first few months, the things that I did was, number one, I told people I loved and trusted that I was getting sober. I didn't tell the masses. I didn't post it on social media. I didn't announce it to people that I didn't trust that were going to talk me out of it. I definitely didn't go tell the people that I used to drink with because then they might want to talk me out of it. So I told my husband, I told two of my very closest friends, and I told my parents, but not fully. I told most people I was doing 75 hard. And 75 hard is this challenge. It's a mental tough challenge. Andy Frisella, I love him. If you ever watch this, I love you. And you don't drink for 75 days. It's a whole thing. It's like, 2 workouts a day. One has to be outside, a gallon of water, yada, 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 no cheat meals and no alcohol for 75 days. So I was telling everybody like, oh yeah, I'm doing 75 hard, so I can't drink. So like if people would ask me if I was drinking, it was like, oh no, I'm doing 75 hard. Oh no, I'm doing 75 hard. And this was the way that I was able to like get through not that awkward conversation, because the second, and unfortunately this is just reality, the second you tell people you want to be sober, they want to convince you that you don't need to be sober because you don't have a problem. That's the one thing. The other thing is they try to convince you why they can't get sober even though you're not asking them. And they give you like this laundry list of like how they're not an alcoholic, but they like to enjoy drinks and they know how to drink just 1 or 2. And then it becomes this whole conversation that you didn't ask for and you don't want to have because it's not about them. It's about you and you just want to get sober. You just don't want to drink anymore. It's not that big of a deal. It's a huge deal, but it's not that big of a deal. It really shouldn't affect their lives if you drink or not. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I immersed myself in sober tools. sober Facebook groups, sober communities, sober podcasts, sober people that I knew had completed over a year of sobriety that I could depend on, that I can say, hey, this is it. Like, this is what I'm doing. Like, and not that you have to do anything for me, but I'd like to tell you this because then maybe it'll help me hold myself accountable. And it does. And the last thing I think is just allowing yourself to have crappy days. Understanding you're gonna have crappy days. You're gonna have days where you don't know what to do with yourself. You're gonna have days where you're gonna have to like run outside because you're like dying of boredom or dying of too many emotions or dying of something, because it's just a lot to process. Give yourself grace in the processing, please, because it is not just a smooth journey. You can't just get to the end of the journey without any struggle. Anything good takes time, and nothing good in life is easy. So give yourself grace and understand it's not going to be this just straight and narrow path. It's going to get a little crazy. Ask for help if you're struggling. I personally did not do the 12 steps and I did not go to AA meetings. I read This Naked Mind and it changed my life. It changed my perspective on alcohol as a whole, on why alcohol exists in our communities, on why it's not only a crutch, but a stronghold, a chain, a barrier. And that book alone was enough to convince me that I never needed to dive into that again. And here's the thing that I really like about this book is that they tell you don't have to start drinking today. Just keep reading the facts. And if you still feel like drinking after this book, and you have an issue, then maybe you need to go to another route. But this book breaks it down to where you can't even like fight this lie of, or pretend like this is any good for you. Like it has any benefit for you. So that book changed my life. But if obviously you need more help and it's a struggle of yours, absolutely reach out to someone professional. Things that I've learned over the last 2 years. Number one, after a year and a half of being sober, went to my sister's wedding and I had a strep throat. I had strep throat. I had antibiotics. I literally did everything I could to get to that wedding. Okay. I literally drove from Arizona to California, was dying in bed for 2 or 3 days, given antibiotics. It was a mess. I'm on TikTok and I'm looking for like natural remedies because obviously I'm like, I really need something. One of the things is obviously if you're Hispanic, drink a shot of tequila. Well, it was my sister's wedding. A sister I'm very close to, not just like, oh yeah, it's my sister's wedding, whatever. She's like my sister. She's like one of my best friends. And my throat hurt. So I said, I'm going to take a shot today. 1.5 years of being sober. And that day I had a decision to make. I was going to drink one shot and really call it quits, or I was going to just get drunk because I already took a shot. So I decided to take a shot, and that's something I don't think I've ever told anybody. And the thing that I am most proud of is that I took one shot and I didn't care to do it again. Legitimately in my brain, it was like, okay, I'm going to try to ease my pain and then move on with my life. And there's something freeing about going to somewhere and not needing to drink. There's almost more freedom in saying, I'm going to do X and then doing that. Like I legitimately said, I'm going to do this. And then I did it. And I proved to myself that it wasn't anything that had power over me. It wasn't going to change my journey. It wasn't going to bring me down. It wasn't going to set me on a path that was going to change my life again, that was going to put me back to square one. And that's why I didn't make a big fuss about it, because I was like, you know what? I own that. I did the shot, and then I moved on with my life and I never touched it again. And to me, it was like almost like a test, right? Like, okay, well, you already drank, you might as well just get drunk. And it didn't happen. And I think that proved to me, because, you prove to yourself who you are every single day, that I am no longer that Diane. That would be like, well, I already drank, so let's get drunk now. Which was very much me. I was a social drinker, but I also used it as like a crutch, right? So in that time, what I've learned is I don't need it. I never needed it, but I allowed it to have power over me for a really long time. You ignoring your pain isn't going to make it go away. It's only gonna add up, and then one day you're just gonna have to face it anyway. And like Kanye said, what's worse, the pain or the hangover? Deal with the pain. Because the hangover is going to come back tomorrow if you keep drinking. You don't need it. It doesn't define you. It doesn't define who you are. Because another reason I drank was to open up. So I felt like I had to open up, and that's the only way I could open up. Until I realized that actually I can be a very outgoing personality, and I can actually be myself. And I learned who I was because I started drinking young and I went deep into it. I didn't ever really learn who I was without it. And so I learned who I was without it, and I'm still learning who I am without it. And because of that, I am learning that I am like this bold person that has an outgoing personality that doesn't need anything. And yes, I need social breaks because I am very introverted and I like to stay in my room and not leave and not talk to anybody except my kids and my husband. But that doesn't mean that I'm shy or that I'm an outcast or that I am weird or strange or unworthy of love or unworthy at all. I think when people are looking to alcohol to make them feel better, it's an inside thing. It's feeling unworthy or feeling like you don't know how to control your feelings or feeling like you need something outside of you to make you better. But the only person that can make you better is you. You guys can always ask me questions, especially now here on YouTube. Comment, questions, concerns, additional information. Happy Soberversary!